Anwani, research analyst at PL Capital, is now joining in. Amit, give us your analysis. If this does come through, who would benefit and who would be negatively impacted? Break it down sector by sector and by how much?
Yeah, thank you so much. Good morning. So I think this is the analysis, and if at all this comes, there's a lot of clarity which is required. But if I just throw some light pre-2020, there's a lot of probably orders, imports raised by the private sector and the utility side to, these private, the Chinese companies, including Shanghai Electric got order from Reliance Power, and there were a few notable orders in this space. If you also notice, there was a period when there was kind of 50% of all the capacities were coming from the private sector, which went into tailspin during 19 to 22 period. And if I really see the data after 2020, the private sector is literally kind of narrowed down in terms of the new capacity addition. And considering that this is highly vulnerable sector in terms of critical technologies where government may not really allow the blanket entry of Chinese firms. So one really have to understand, but if at all this happens, then there's also a notable, data that the NTPC orders typically do not install the Chinese BTGs. So if I see that the government sector is probably much higher in terms of proportion versus pre-2020, I think the scope should be, as you said, in some kind of requirements and very specific where we might be facing serious challenge in terms of execution, and probably it should not be a blanket. But if this happens, obviously BHEL is something which is very prominent in this space, and this market has a limited supply. L&T, BHEL, and few guys are supplying this already massive tenders which has been raised in past 2 years. So probably that is one area where this can happen. In terms of transmission space, we saw impact yesterday happening to many firms, including ABB, Siemens. So obviously few firms did highlight it in their commentaries, including ABB, that if there's some relaxation, there could be possibly an impact on the margins. But I think my understanding is that in terms of impact, there's been a massive capacity creation and capex done by the sector. So I really doubt that it will be a direct blanket entry in this space. And we're talking about at least 40 to 50% capacity addition in the sector over the next 2 years. And even when this notification came in 2020, and reports suggest that the decline was only 25% post 2020, which indicates that the Chinese imports were still happening at the lower end, and except the critical and strategic areas where government was really concerned. So I think we have to really understand in what form this is going to come. But I'm pretty sure the government has been focusing a lot in terms of localization and this massive domestic capacity creation which is happening. I'm really doubting the scale at which this can come. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Hi, Amit. Good to see you, and thanks for a quick insight out there. But do you think the worst case scenario plays out? How would you approach a stock like BHEL? Yesterday, the stock was down 10%. What's your view?
Right. So if you see BHEL, in terms of ordering, past 2.5 years has been massive. There's been a massive addition in terms of order book, which is over 2 lakhs. So I think the key area to look for BHEL is really to ramp up the execution, where now they have the book, and execution, margins, and health of the balance sheet will be in key focus. And they were already, we were talking about that the orders in proportion they came in past 2 financial years probably have peaked out, and even going forward, there could be some moderation once probably next 12 months, whatever order comes in, versus F24, F25. So definitely BHEL might have some impact if there's anything coming on BTG. They have been quite, active in this space in terms of order inflows. But I think in near term for me, what is also equally important is they have already had a very strong order book. in last 24 months. The market is looking for execution, margins, and health of the balance sheet also in case of BHEL.
Amit, which segment is, if this comes through, this China bit, right? More supplies from China. Which sector is the most? It's power, right? Which is most impacted?
Yeah. So if you see, I think the duration when it came, we were talking about Chinese spying and Chinese control on critical power assets, and that led government to, along with the China clashes which happened that time, that led government to take this step. So I think apart from power, it was telecom and few other sectors where this was also probably implemented. So I think the strategic sectors again will be kept out of the ambit, and my understanding probably could be at the lower end of, let's say, transformer or other transmission sector products, which are probably not highly strategic, which we're already seeing.
So there has to be, Amit, in your opinion, there has to be specific notification to this regard, right?
Absolutely.
And
yes.
we don't have that yet. I mean, so
yes. It's
so
just
we are talking in the realm of possibility in that sense. Because for BHEL and all, I remember back in the day, in the early 2000s, right? Chinese imports were a big bane for them because there used to be boilers, etc. Used to be much cheaper, right? And that used to be tracked very closely. And of course, I mean, the power sector went into a funk in the 2010s. So there wasn't that much chatter. But if it's coming back and now Chinese imports are also back, then it'll probably need to be watched. But isn't it? You said only strategic sectors will be kept out. But what is strategic? Strategic is defense, right? You'll have, there is power generation mainly, EMS. There could be renewables. These are all areas where China is a big producer.
Yeah. So strategic plus sectors where government sees any security concern, which was notable when this notification came, and particularly to BHEL, as I said, the sector has changed. So pre-2020, there was a lot of private orders and there was a lot of private ordering going to this Chinese firms. So I think now that scenario has changed. There are a lot of government plus state orders which are there when we speak in past 24 months. And it has been very rare that they have ordered to the Chinese firms. So that's why I said there's many questions around this, and the exact quantum probably once all this unfolds will make it more clear.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Just a thought, is there any geopolitical angle to it? I guess, maybe India is creating a strategic hedge, maybe by aligning with China, but will it complicate, if it's easing ties with Beijing, but will it complicate our trade relations and negotiations with US by doing it?
That's second order, third order implications. But I think it's not as if you're replacing US equipment, right?
Yeah.
I mean, especially in these sectors, larger messaging, will it sour ties? Who knows? But specifically with this regard, I mean, to buy stuff to import stuff from US, doesn't comparatively does not make sense.